What's up, people? In my video, I'm going to talk about what is life like being a black man. So, if I would summarize it, pretty much all in all, at the end of the day, it's what you make out of it. But I can definitely say it's not easy and can be pretty hard at times. If I give you an example, Christmas Eve, me being invited Christmas Eve to dinner at 8 p.m. So on my way to dinner, get out the train, come up the stairs. I see the traffic lights are about to change and I'm in a rush, but I don't want to wait. So I start just pacing. Next minute, I look around behind me. I hear people screaming. There's about 7 policemen running after me. I'm like, oh, dude, this is definitely not a good thing if a whole bunch of policemen are running after me. I stop. They stop me, take me, they arrest me. They don't explain me. It's pretty cold. I'm late for my dinner now. The explanation, well, it just happens 10 minutes before somebody called in, and the building that is next to the train station, given that I just got out of the train and I was in a hurry, so I ran past that building in about a few minutes before a neighbor or somebody called in that a black guy had broken into that building. And me minding my business, just wanting to go to have my Christmas Eve dinner. I was in the wrong place at the right time, the wrong time actually. So I ended up getting arrested on Christmas Eve search. They kept me about maybe like 20 minutes there. They went to check up and let the people identify if it's me or not. So I wasn't. So they apologized. The Swiss police here in Zurich, Gladbruck, which is basically the area close to the airport. And they let me go, and they still wish me Merry Christmas. Shout out to Officer Vargas. To be fair, they were very kind. But I was also cooperative because I know many times lots of problems with the police. People cause it themselves by exacerbating and not cooperating. But that's one example of what it's like being a black person. Other thing is that people aren't aware. For example, going everywhere, you always have to watch how your actions are interpreted. I give you an example. Every time I go out in the city and Switzerland is a fairly safe place, right? But so I'm going home, I get out of the train. This one time, which is one of many examples. There's 3 women before me and they're all walking kind of, at their own pace. I'm needing to urinate. So it's about 10 minutes from my house to the station. So I want to run, right? But I know I can't run because it's late at night and there are 3 women in front of me, which is gonna freak them the shit out at 2 a.m. if some black dude comes running in their direction. So I consciously have to walk slower, and I always have to make sure that I give them enough space so they don't ever kind of feel like, oh, is he following me? And that is just every time I go out at night. And it's a fact, and I'm not angry or anything. I also don't blame them. But that's just kind of something that one has to consider. Now, anyway, if I take it, it's part of being black is, you get used to being judged and used to being insulted. In the sense, you don't accept it ever being insulted, but it's not an oh my God moment. I can't believe that. By the time you are adult black man or black person, you've had at least a dozen of experiences with racial prejudice. I specifically don't use the term racism because racism is a system. It's a political, institutional system that basically supports its institutionalized racial prejudice. But in modern world, we don't experience racism, we experience accounts of racial prejudice. Nonetheless, but at the end of the day, a lot of the experience depends on the individual, depends whether they are decent people or not, and not trashy people, because there are many, ghetto, trashy black people I personally would never associate with, even ones that I personally know. And at the same time, I've seen also many trashy white people, where I'm like, dude, that's below my level. We were raised differently. We have morals. We have standards. We might not have had a lot of money, or we might not, look European, but we have human dignity, and class cannot be taught. And it's the same. There are many trashy people and just bad people of all cultures and races, so it doesn't matter. It's about really finding the people who are admirable and the ones who live in such a way that you want to be around them. Because at the end of the day, you become like the 5 people you spend the most time with. Jim Rohn. Further to what is the black experience like? So being a black man is like being born into a group project you didn't sign up for, where everyone expects you to represent 400 years of history, but the problem is nobody gives you the syllabus or the history. So you're supposed to represent history that you don't have access to. You walk into a room and immediately you become a concept. Not, hi, I'm Dave, more like, oh, a black man, let's see what he does. No pressure. So part of the experience, if I could, put points to it, is number 1, you live with 2 narratives in your head. There's the regular inner voice that goes, hey, I'm hungry, I should eat. And then there's the black man voice. But how would it look if I eat here right now? So you're not just alive, but you're curated. You don't just walk into a store, you enter like you're trying to convince security you belong in the building emotionally. Hands visible, face neutral, smiling. Not too much though, no sudden joy, because nothing scares people more than a black man having a good day. Number 2, the Olympic sport of being non-threatening. There should be medals for this one. As a black person, you learn early how to smile just enough, lower your voice half an octave, say sir even when you're the older guy, and master the art of crossing the street so someone else feels safe. Yeah. Late at night, woman walks there across the street, or on your side of the street, you go to the other side of the street so that they feel safe. It's the same if I go for a run in the woods 10 minutes away, not even, there's a big forest and I always go running there, and there's always, women who are walking with their dogs or just running alone, and then I'd see them coming from that direction, and then I would just have to take another so that they feel safe and not feel threatened. It's just a fact. So imagine being 6 feet tall and built like a fridge, but somehow still responsible for everyone else's emotional security. It's a wild job description. Number 3, part of the black experience, being misunderstood, but very consistently. Here's the comedy. If you speak well, wow, you're articulate. If you don't speak, why is this being so intense? If you're confident, he's aggressive. If you're calm, something's off. watching. So eventually you realize you are not being evaluated, you are being projected onto. At some point you stop correcting people and just let them argue with the version of you they invented. It saves time. Number 4, freedom, but with terms and conditions. You're free, just not relax free. You can do anything, but you have to do it carefully. Fail, it's not a bad day. It's just a data point and you one more black statistic. Succeed, well, now you're an exception, which is hilarious because exceptions are still outside the rule. So you learn to be excellent but humble, confident but grateful, strong but gentle. Basically, you become a walking PR campaign for humanity. Number 5, part of the black experience is masculinity without the cushion. Other men get to be mediocre and mysterious. As a black man, I promise you, my whole life experience was always I had to work harder, I had to be more intelligent, I had to be physically stronger, I had to show more aptitude than the average person because you would have this extra look. And basically my experience living in Switzerland was that I worked for the government, local municipality here, and was when as soon as I worked there, you know, basically there were extra eyes on me, and people are generally chill here, so it's not like they are racist or so, but there's a certain subset of the population, and you know, you do experience racism in Switzerland. I've been insulted a couple of times. I've heard people, you know, how insults. I've received letters in my office, you know, with racial insults. They're just part of the thing, right? But, you know, as black man, you have to be emotionally intelligent, hyper aware, calm under pressure, and somehow still manly, whatever that means this week. You're allowed to be strong, but not angry, vulnerable, but not weak, funny, but not too funny. Therapy is encouraged now, which is great, but historically, you know, black men learn therapy by talking to themselves while driving and just coaching themselves through any situation, and that doesn't really count. I give you an example. I remember one of my ex-girlfriends. I, you know, really loved her, great person, and her family also, specifically her brother. And, you know, I have this black side of me that I can't, you know, I'm African, you know, and I embrace African American culture as well. And so I saw a brother, and so it's when I'm happy to see someone, my whole body will show that. So I was like, hey bro, how's it going? Boom, bam, nice to see you. And you know, we end up having an argument about that I'm pretending to be and I'm overacting, and I'm like, no, that's how I am. I'm happy. Of course, like, if, you know, I treat women differently, I'm much more gentle with women and much more respectful. But if I see my boy or so, you know, in that case with her brother, who I really digged a lot, is such a cool dude. You know, and I was like, yo, bro, what's up, man? What's popping? You know, I was genuinely happy, and we ended up arguing about it because it was too much. And it was also, you know, the same with her cousin. And, you know, and basically no other race or no other person has to justify their natural reactions. And as a black person in Switzerland, I always have to tone it down. I'm too much, too direct, too confrontational, and it's always gonna get misinterpreted in some way. And number 6, the joke that nobody tells you, that you see everything. Here's the twist. being forced to read rooms your whole life makes you psychologically fluent. You notice who's lying, who's afraid, who's pretending to be important, who's cosplaying morality. With that, you develop X-ray vision for nonsense. So yes, it's heavy, but it also makes you dangerous in a different way. You understand people better than they understand themselves. You recognize the patterns. You can, start to see certain patterns repeat itself, and then that's just a self-warning sign. Maybe that's why they get nervous around black people. Don't know, but I always sense it. So, what's like being a black man? Just, I give you another one. This was a more funny one. So me personally, I love music. I'm a songwriter. I've been a writer since the age of 8. I'm 39 now. I still write. I have so many journals. I can flow, I can rap, I can write on the spot, I can compose, whatever. And I'm trained, as a psychological counselor, NLP practitioner in hypnosis, therapy, cognitive behavioral therapist, nonetheless. So with that, the one thing that I dislike about trashy ghetto black culture is, the violence and kind of the typical degrading, horrible content of hip-hop music. If I like hip-hop, let's talk about Nas, let's talk about, Quality, who, R.A. the Rugged Man, Immortal Technique. That's what I kind of like, the so-called conscious that's spreading knowledge. And not everybody likes that, they're not mainstream. But so I'm at a party, I'm the only black guy there, and I don't know who's DJing, excuse me. The only black guy there, I don't know who's DJing. Nonetheless, they're playing this vulgar lyrics, right? And it's just not fitting for the situation. It's like kind of awkward, all this. Everyone's dressed nicely and very, kind of like elegant. And this ghetto hip hop track's playing, and somebody comes up to me, hey, can we please change the music? And my reply was, dude, I can totally understand why you think I'm playing the music, but that was literally what I was thinking the whole time. Why are we playing this ghetto music? So being the only black guy, and so people would obviously think it's my music taste, which I can't blame them. I can kind of see the logic, but yeah, that's how crazy it is. Anyway, thank you for listening to my video on what's it like being a black man. So like and subscribe, follow for more. Much love. In the Zen with Zona. Peace.